What is a digital communications strategy? Well, essentially, it's how you communicate your business digitally. And it sounds pretty straightforward, but with all businesses, we all started with a strategy in mind. And whether that was a face-to-face business or a digital community, digital strategy, or both, we need to ensure that the right communication that we are sending out is one that your target market can relate to, can understand to, and obviously towards the end, drive results for your business. So how we communicate is really important in our business. We can teach you skills and give you knowledge and experience and all those different things in different areas. But unless you know how to effectively communicate your business, it can really propel and or hold you back without the correct strategy in place. So that's what this session is all about. So I just want to give a quick little background about me, just to give you some perspective of my experience in the industry. So my background is the hospitality industry. So at some point, I may have served you a coffee, a beer, or a meal, or something along the line. So I've worked in the hospitality industry around Australia for the last 20 years in award-winning cafes, bars, and restaurants. Not only worked in, but with those clients. I am also a consultant for Queensland TAFE and one of the largest independent book publishers in Australia. I'm also the founder of Australia's largest cafe Facebook group called the Australian Cafe Owners Network, where I get to talk and chat and get to know all the amazing people in the hospitality community. And I create communication strategies for large, medium, and small businesses. One of those communication strategies for me was to create a low-cost product for my market to help build my reputation and brand and build more awareness around what I'm trying to do and help businesses. And that was this book here, which is the Hospitality Survival Guide. So I'm also an author, published in 2019. I'm now in over 7 or 8 different countries. And I was a finalist in the Australian Business Book Awards and continue to help small businesses like the hospitality industry around Australia. But I wanted to branch out. I wanted to go further. I wanted to take what I've learned from the hospitality industry and start utilizing that idea around that customer-centric mentality, that when you can understand your customer in a face-to-face environment, where you understand their needs, their wants, their desires, it makes it incredibly easy to run the other aspects of your business. There's a lot of reasons why a business may not be successful, but there are a reason why your business may not be successful or may not be at the point you want it to be, or you simply want to expand and make it further. And I'm pretty sure that at any one of those stages, it really comes down to your internal operations, your external operations, or your core product, all of which we are going to discuss in this session. So what are we covering in this session? Well, we are talking about what you are communicating. Before we can create a digital marketing plan, we need to know what it is you are communicating. It can be easy to fall into that idea that you may have a Facebook or a LinkedIn or an Instagram. You know how to use it, so you know how to connect with people through your business through these social media platforms or your website or other forms of digital media such as email. The reality is, until you figure out what exactly you are communicating with that audience, these are all tools. And effectively, to use those tools correctly, we need to ensure that the core product and the message is very, very solid. And that's why we're kind of working from the ground up. I don't want to jump in here and give you a few social media tips and strategies, some of which may be useful, some may not be. But until we work out your core message, we can then strategize how to utilize those digital platforms, the right ones at the right times. So that's what we're talking about today. Tomorrow's session, we're going to go over the digital landscape, so all the different platforms and a few little tips and tricks you can use to utilize those specific to your target market. And session 3, I'm going to dive into a social media strategy. This is a strategy I teach all my clients. It's been very effective, and it is a powerful way to connect with your audience through either Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, even email. It's to do with developing meaningful content that drives results. So that's a really exciting one. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. Effectively though, without knowing your business right now, or where you're at with your business, or how old you are in business, or what your experience is, every business can help create a better communication strategy with their audience. I'm sure you can agree that if you know how to understand your market, it's a lot easier to market to them, and which is what we want to cover today. So, as I talked about earlier, you have to know your biz to be able to communicate it. So we're going to go over some business foundations. We're going to go over your core business. If you've been in business a little bit, you're probably going to know about the guy, Simon Sinek, and his why. If you haven't, I'm going to shoot a quick little video, show a video on how to understand that and go through some examples and why it is very important. Even if you have listened to this before, I think it's imperative that you do have your how, what, and why sorted. And also your core values as a company and why they are important, whether you are a solo person or whether you have multiple staff with your team. Having those core values in place is absolutely imperative. And we're going to go through an example for that as well. So these are the three aspects of a business. We've got the foundation, so your product and service. We've got the external business, which is the strategy and direction. And then we've got the internal, which is your team and operation. For now, we're going to be focusing on the foundations, which is very important. Having a strong core product is paramount because it attracts the right people to your business and it attracts the right customers to your business as well. As you can see here, if you've got the right foundations in place and your externals are in place, you're connecting with and attracting customers, but your team aren't delivering on the experience. If you have a strong core product in place and you've got a strong team, it means that your business has identity and your team believes and delivers on this, but no one knows about it. And then you have your external strategy. So this is like your social media, your partnerships, your collaborations. So if you have a strong internal team and a strong external relationship, but haven't focused on the core product, your internal performance and vision is great, but loyalty may be low as customers aren't deeply connecting with the business. So at any point in your business, there's probably some areas that can need work on, some more than others. So I really want you to have a look at this diagram here and decide where you are at the moment. Where's your strongest points at? What needs work? And finding out that this is obviously the key area that we're aiming for here, is that connection between all of them. Now, a strategy or a communication strategies in this regard is effective across all of these sections of your business. You need to know what your core product is at a very core level to understand how to deliver it in your messaging, not just with your customers, but your team. With your communication strategy here, you must also know how to talk to your team, how to lead your team, how to inspire them, empower them to deliver on the product and the service that you want to provide. And it also relates to your communication with your external clients, with your social media, with customers online, with face-to-face, with other business partners, with your customers in general. All of these are based around how well you can effectively communicate an idea. But today, we're going to be working on foundations. Over the next couple of days, we're going to be working on the external. So basically these two. The reason why is because with the digital communications, it's basically more associated with this, as there isn't too many digital communications taking place internally. They're more face-to-face. And in these cases, sometimes Zoom calls and webinars. So target market. Everyone's probably heard that term in business before, but it is still very important to know who your target market is. So the question I need to ask all of you is, do you have a clear understanding of your target market? Not just the people that are already your customers, but other customers that you want to attract to your business. Do you know their needs, their wants, their likes and dislikes? To determine this, identifying what their current 3 biggest problems are is probably the biggest piece of advice I can give you. And I want to emphasize the word here, current. For a lot of businesses, and especially on the back end of COVID now, markets change, problems are changing. The way we deliver our business has changed quite a lot. And identifying what your customers' 3 biggest problems are is really important when understanding how to communicate with them and deliver a strong communication with that audience. Take, for example, the hospitality industry. Now, before COVID hit, my biggest customers' problems were getting customers through the door and working with their team to attract more better team members, and working on cost-saving strategies. They were my three biggest problems pre-COVID. So you can imagine when COVID hit, those problems weren't really identifiable with them anymore. Their biggest problems were, how does JobKeeper and JobSeeker work? How do I get involved with my lease? And how do I get out of my lease? And how do I take care of my team members? Or how do I potentially close my business because I'm not getting any customers? You can see there that if I don't identify with those problems, I'm not going to be able to communicate with them effectively. If I kept going about my original three biggest problems, it's not going to be reflective on what they actually need right now. So for you, I want you to really sit back and ask, what are your three biggest problems for your customers right now? The other thing is, because we want to work on a problem solution based model. So effectively, to deliver a message with your business, we want to work what their three biggest problems are and offer a solution. If you're in the business where your market may not know what their problem is, well, it's about bringing them up to speed to what their potential problem could be and then offering a result. So Heather, I'm going to use you here and talk about accountants and three biggest problems. So I'm sure right now is that with your market, you can identify with that market some of their biggest problems right now. But what about things that they aren't aware of? What about things that are coming up in the back end? They could be something related about COVID that you're aware of, that they're not aware of. Those are examples of problems that you can help solve and bring to their attention and solve for them. A lot of major companies use this same technique. It's about showing them, hey, did you know this is wrong? And the biggest one there is probably insurance ads. They're the ones that before you saw that ad, you didn't think there was a problem. They make you aware that there's a problem and they offer a solution. Now, insurance agencies, they're out for money, but in your business, it still can be seen as a positive thing with your audience. What can you provide them right now? I'll use back again to the hospitality industry. They weren't aware of some of the things around JobSeeker and JobKeeper and the rules and regulations that apply to the business. For their three biggest problems right now, they were just worried about keeping their doors open, how to make some sales, and how to get into the takeaway business, because they could do takeaway food, but not in-house food. But one of the biggest problems that they had was that they didn't understand JobSeeker, JobKeeper. So I brought in some accountants and some specialized people into my cafe group to give them that information about that and saying, hey, just a heads up, when JobSeeker and JobKeeper comes around, these are three things you have to be aware of. With that information, we brought them up to speed, we helped solve their problem, and we created that know, like, and trust factor. So with your business, really think about what their three biggest problems are now. How are you delivering on those problems with solution? But also think a bit deeper and a bit more proactively into the future. What are the problems that they are potentially going to have? This is one of the biggest things that I work with a lot of clients is we have a lot of amazing businesses that offer great services. But the problem is they're not really understanding what their market problems are right now. And even though they've got all this great information and it's exciting and it's probably helpful in some way, right now their target market, they're just not interested in it because they're just not aware of it. And it's not a case of, hey, here's the information, good luck, and this is what I know. It's a case of, hey, this is coming up. I should let these guys know because this is going to very much affect how they run their business. So decide what their three biggest problems are. And then I want you to really think about what are three potential upcoming problems that they may be going to have and how you're going to deliver on that promise of solving that for them. There's a site here called marketfind.rdaresearch.com. And I want to, I'm not sure if you can click on the link, but if you just Google marketfind.rdaresearch.com, I'm just going to step out of this and go onto the website here because I just want to show you this site here. So can everyone still see my screen? Heather, can you see my screen there?
Yes, no problem.
Cool. So this is a really, really fantastic I guess, tool you can use, which is based on the Australian Census information. So effectively, if you've got your target market in mind and you want to target a certain area, so for instance, I know, Heather, you're based in Cairns and you want to target a particular area of Cairns or maybe the Sunshine Coast or Brisbane, I would recommend going to Market Find because what you do, let's enter in an address. Have you got an address for me in Cairns, Heather, that I can use? Anything at all?
Just a suburb. Why don't you try Gordon Vale?
Gordon Vale, is that Gordon?
Gordon Vale, all one word. And that's it, Queensland.
Beautiful. So
Try that.
All right, so this is that area here. They've segmented.
Yes.
So what this has done is it's given us 2 bits of information here. So we're just going to start with this. So I'm not sure if people can see that. I'm just going to zoom.
Yes, we can see. Yeah.
Beautiful. So what this does is it shows you all the demographics about that area. It tells you their socioeconomic status, their life cycle stage, how many young independents living at home, other characteristics, the type of housing that they have, household expenditure, the remoteness, letterbox psychographics, so how they basically consume information, top 5 buyers, and household economics. You can see here that this is a pretty powerful little piece of information to be able to connect with your audience digitally or in a face-to-face environment. If I go back, we've got some more, oops, a bit too far back. Click out of this. Go back to that one again. And while this is loading, I just want to make sure that everyone know that if you do have any questions of any kind whatsoever, I do want to dedicate the majority of this session to answering those questions at the end as well. So please put them in as we go along so I can answer those as well. Okay, it wasn't giving me that other information there, but not sure why that isn't working, but normally it gives you a couple of pieces of information. Let me just try a different one. Let's try Paddington.
Yeah, try a different address.
It gives you a couple of pieces of information. Stay select. It's not, it might just be a browser issue. Different group. So essentially it's the same information, but it tells you more about that information. So why is that information relevant? Well, if you are targeting an area, say on Facebook ads, social media ads, wanting to do a letterbox drop, wanting to send out an email to a certain people in a certain suburb, having this information can be quite appealing to them. When you look at the top 5 driving buyers in Paddington, it's the most exclusive brand and the most authentic and the most stylish. So if you're doing an email campaign about your products, you would maybe talk about your potential higher base products and that kind of thing. Or if you're looking at who's living at home and young independents, that is quite high as young independents there. So you know that when you're communicating with them, you can obviously change your language style a little bit to shoot the younger independents as opposed to an older age demographic. So a very useful piece of information there to help with that kind of thing, a target market. But that's just one example of target market. The next thing I want you to start researching is what is your unique selling position or USP. You may know it as the point of difference in marketing, but essentially what is it that sets your business apart? And I'm sure as a business owner, you're well aware of how your business is different to other businesses in the same field as you, but does your customer know? Am I able to access that information? Am I able to access that information? Is that part of your communication strategy? Because the reality is a lot of people are going to look at your business in a way where if you're not setting yourself apart from someone else in some way, you are just going to fall in line with everyone else. Another example, I'm going to go back to the hospitality industry, is we look at cafes. And I often ask cafe owners, what's your point of difference? And they say, look, we make great coffee. And I'm like, well, everyone on the block makes great coffee. What else makes you different? I said, oh, we do breakfast and we locally source ingredients and those kind of things. And I'm like, okay, look, that's a little bit different, but it is pretty common these days. What else do you do? And then they talk about, it says, oh, whenever we do takeaway coffee, we provide a service to people. So when we buy coffee, we provide a service where we can come to their home and help them use their beans and set up their equipment if they want to. And I'm like, okay, that's a really cool point of difference. Now, it may not be necessarily something that someone wants right now, but it does allow your business to jump ahead and get in front of your competition with that point of difference. Because at the end of the day, the main questions we want to be asking is, how do I get more customers to trust my product? And how do I create an environment to make customers feel my business? What have I set out to achieve? This is when I want to talk about how we buy products. Now, having a unique selling position is fantastic. Building that know, like, and trust factor takes time. But we need to understand how people actually buy products. And when people buy products, you and I, whatever it may be, we want to buy products that we feel is necessary at the time. The way we choose that is by our emotions. So we buy emotionally, whether it's McDonald's down the road, a new car, or some school equipment for our children, we all buy emotionally. So with every decision that you make when it comes to communicating your business to someone else, the question you need to ask yourself is, how do I create an emotionally charged response? Now, that sounds like a pretty big question, and it is a big question, and we're going to dive into it in the next couple of sessions to ensure that we can help you identify what yours is. But that's the main thing we want to set out to achieve. It's not so much about setting a emotional response that's either extremely happy or extremely upset or angry. It's about creating an emotion that people can feel connected to. And if we can create a core message that a business can feel connected to, that's when it becomes a very powerful business model that you can leverage off quite quickly. Now, the next one I want to talk about is this guy here. Like I said, a few of you may know him and know the message, but I just want to show you this quick video on the why. Just give me 1 second.
Probably the world's simplest idea.
Can't see it at the moment, Josh.
This little idea explains.
Okay. Why can't you see that? Could you hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe just a screen share. Oh, yep. We can see now the YouTube. Yep.
Yep. Good to go.
Yep. Good to go.
Why some organizations and some leaders are able. Probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, but very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. By why, I mean, what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? And why should anyone care? The inspired leaders and the inspired organizations all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. That's how most marketing is done. That's how most sales is done. We say what we do. We say how we're different or how we better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? People don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Again, the goal is not just to sell people who need what you have. The goal is to sell to people who believe what you believe. If you hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they work for you with blood and sweat and tears. Something called the law of diffusion of innovation. The first 2.5% of our population are our innovators. The next 13.5% of our population are our early adopters. The next 34% are your early majority, your late majority, and your laggards. And if you want mass market success or mass market acceptance of an idea, you cannot have it until you achieve this tipping point between 15 and 18% market penetration. So it's this here, this little gap that you have to close, because you see, the early majority will not try something until someone else has tried it first. And these guys, the innovators and the early adopters, they're more comfortable making those intuitive decisions that are driven by what they believe about the world and not just what product is available. These are the people who stood online for 6 hours to buy an iPhone when they first came out. Leaders hold a position of power or authority, but those who lead inspire us. And it's those who start with why that have the ability to inspire those around them or find others who inspire them. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that all came through okay there, Heather?
Yes, yes.
Cool, what did you think of that?
Yeah, very good. Yes.
So the reason why I want to spend time on this one in particular, and again, if you've got the workbook, I believe I put it into the chat with the link. Let me just check, it may not have come through. What I'm going to do...
I haven't seen it in the chat, no.
No dramas, let me just bring this up right away. Where can I type in this? Let's get rid of that. Oh, here we go here, Q&A. It's not letting me do the chat. That's okay. We'll be able
You can go through Q&A probably.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where I can actually type.
Okay.
But I can't seem to do that here, but that's okay because we'll be sending out that workbook anyway after this. So essentially what I'm going to be doing, sending you out in this workbook is these questions. So what we've worked on so far, we're going to give you a little workbook there to work on that I'd like you to fill out. And one of them is this why, how, and what. It makes sense that this is what people would be attracted to, because we are attracted to things that provide purpose. And even whether it's, say, accounting or whether it's building or anything like that, we are doing those things because it's on the back end of something that's normally important to us. So when we hire someone, when we're looking for an actual service to something, it's normally has an underlying theme as to why they're approaching you. And saying that, I'm going to use accountants again, that going to an accountant and saying, oh, I need help with accounting. If you as an accountant can understand what their type of business is underneath all of that, how to deliver on something differently, you're going to have a customer for life. Now that's obviously when you get them, but you need to attract those types of people as well, which really comes into that section on why you're doing what you're doing and how to communicate with them in a way that you're solving their problems or helping them with a problem they may not know they have yet, and constantly finding ways to deliver on that value. So in the workbook, I want you to write down your what, how, and why, and really tune into the why. He's given you an example there of Apple. Let's say, well, let's use an example of a chicken shop. Okay, let's say it's actually an example in my book, and I want to use it for this one. So there's this chicken shop that specialize in really good American style chicken here in Australia, and they source all their chicken locally and under the best RSPCA standards. So what do? They make really great chicken, American style chicken. They do it by sourcing locally sourced chicken raised in the right way. Why do they do it? Well, they want to help create a sustainable chicken industry. And by doing this, by purchasing these chickens at the rate that they should be bought, they're encouraging people to source more locally and really create a sense of locally sourced produce to support local communities and deliver on something bigger than just a chicken business. Now you can see by those three different examples there, they are all different, but you can feel why you'd want to resonate with something that means something. And this can apply to any business. Any different business type has to have a why. It's not just to put food on the table. That's an outcome of your business. But why are you doing it? And if you've been doing it for a long time, there's a very good chance that it has a bigger reason other than money, something about you that you want to help people achieve with your product or service. You want to help change the world probably in some way. There's something deeper. Are you communicating that? Am I aware of that as the customer? And is that enough for people to want to connect to? The final part of this session is I want to go over core values. Now, what are core values? Well, the core values are 3 to 5 rules or boundaries that support your why.
We can't just see your presentation at the moment, Josh, if you want to pop that up.
Yeah, I'll just...
yeah, sorry to interrupt you. We're just looking
at
the
that's all
YouTube
good.
screen. Yeah.
For some reason that link isn't working, so I've just got to bring it up onto my
computer
Atlas.
Oh, that's okay. If not, that's fine.
Yeah, I think it's important because this is it's a really good... guys here. So I found this example. Can you see my screen there?
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. Let's go back to these guys here. Just give me 1 moment. And values. Okay, so we've got our why in place, we've got an idea, but these are backed up by company values. So as it says here, these are values that guide our business, our product development, and our brand. As a company continues to evolve and grow, these 5 values remain constant. So these are this company's 6 values. They guide what we do, why we create, and who we hire. Number 1, open company, no bullshit. I like that one. Openness is root level for us. Information is openly internally by default, and sharing is a first principle. Build with heart and balance. Measure twice, cut once. Whether you're building a birdhouse or a business, this is good advice. Passion and urgency infuse everything we do, alongside with the wisdom to consider options fully and with care. Then we make the cut and we get the work. Don't the customer. Customers are our lifeblood. Without happy customers, we're doomed. Play as a team. We spend a huge amount of time at work, so the more work that we do doesn't feel like work, the better. We can be serious without taking ourselves too seriously. And finally, be the change you seek. We have the courage and resourcefulness to spark change, to make better products, our people, our place. Continuous improvement is a shared responsibility. Action is an independent one. So these are examples of core values, all of which I would like you to attempt to do yourself before tomorrow if you can. There will be space in the workbook for you to do this, but I'd love you to really spend some time on those core values. You can use that link there to have a look at theirs and potentially use some of theirs if you feel they align with you. But these are really important when creating this digital communication strategy. We really do have to start from the ground up, and this is where it starts. If we don't have these core values in place, our why in place, understanding our target market, solving their problems, offering value to them, when we get to that communications strategy, we may know certain things on what platforms to use, but the message we say is going to be skewed. It's going to be difficult to maintain a consistency with our message. Having all this in place ensures that we use the right social media platform, we communicate the right way via email, and we have the right information on our website. The biggest thing about core values and why is when there is a problem in your business or something isn't fitting right or you're not attracting customers. This is then an opportunity for you to go back to those core values that you've developed, your why, all that information, and really remind yourself on why you are doing what you're doing and what the business stands for. It's very important to have these in place as your business grows, whether it's 1 staff or up to 20. In the hospitality industry, I've managed anywhere from 2 people up to 40 people. And the most successful businesses that I worked with, not just in hospitality, but in any sort of industry, are ones that had these core values in place and their why in place. I felt a part of it. I could feel the culture. I felt as if the staff were literally coming out of the woodwork. They created something that people felt connected to other than just a business. So when you have these in place, it makes this process in workshop 2 and 3 a lot more easier for you to understand and then implement for the long-term strategy. So I really would like all of you listening, if you are watching the replay or watching now, to really get these into place before our next session. Because in our next session, we're going to be talking about the digital landscape. So the different types of digital platforms you can use, the current climate on the social media industry, websites in Google, how it all works and how to leverage it, social media and partnerships and collaborations. So that's going to be in session 2, and workshop 3 is going to be specifically on social media. So that's our first session. So I want to say a big thank you if you are listening on the replay, and if you have been joined us today, please let me know, and yeah, let's jump on and have a quick chat and answer some of those questions. Heather, where are you? There you are. Now I'm pretty sure Agatha is just going to stop this recording.
Okay.
Maybe. Let me just bring up the chat. If anyone has any questions, please let me know now. Heather, how did you find the session?
Very good, very informative, challenging to think about your business that specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, especially if you have been in business for a while, to revisit perhaps those core values and maybe to revisit what's important to you, and to also, over the next couple of sessions as well, to see where your future customers are now, where they are and how you're going to reach them.
Yeah.
So yes, very good, very challenging to be able to write that down.
Look, it is, especially if they haven't been in place. I'm sure that you've had plenty of times where you know why you're doing it, or some core values maybe came into play where you haven't accepted some customers, or you disagreed with someone, or you had a preferred client you worked with. It's really about identifying all those different experiences that you've had, and pull apart, okay, what do I stand for? What don't I stand for? What do I allow? What do I want to change? What purpose is it for my business? Because what I've found is a lot of people who try to discover what their purpose is of their business, their why, they're normally coming from a place where they feel like their business or service isn't strong enough to have that kind of message. Like, for instance, you might be thinking that about an accountant. It's like, oh, look, I just do finance, you know, what's my purpose? Well, it's a results driven. Like, I'm sure that when you help a client, you give them clarity, you give them confidence in their business, you allow them to maybe breathe a bit easier that night, or how they're going to pay for their next bill and that kind of thing. And that's something that's pretty powerful, and that's something that business and services all help do. And it's reminding yourself that, you know, despite your business may not be something that isn't as, you know, in the eyes of, you know, helping solve these huge problems that have a lot of emphasis on, you know, growth or personal growth, or those type of things, that every business has a place. And when you help someone in business, you're helping a larger part of just their business. You're helping them, you know, put food on the table and have those bigger goals in mind to help them through those tough times potentially.
Yeah, maybe if we could see the businesses, perhaps if people want to put that in the chat, that they are involved in, we could target those or have a look at targeting those more specifically.
Yeah, I'd love to. Anyone who wants to put in their actual business type, I'd love to do a quick little session. I mean, these sessions were designed, I really want to create that strong component of making sure that we solve problems as we have each session. I'd love to get stuck into it and really just make the most of this session. So I think, is it Amira is still on? Love to hear what they have to say. I'll give a couple of minutes on the chat. I think the chat's up and running. That's all good. Otherwise, we may leave it there, and we'll leave that with Agatha to organise and trim up and do her thing. All good with you, Heather?
Yep, that's fine. As you say, every business has its purpose, and every business has a strong element as to the why they're doing it and how they're helping somebody else. You just need to actually go there. If you're a personal trainer, for example, oh, I'm just doing that, but you're doing more than that for a person, and that would be where you're going to look for your points of difference. If you're selling adventure equipment, you're actually selling the beautiful outdoors. You're not just selling a rope that you're going to abseil with. You know, you're selling where you're going to abseil it, how you're going to do it, who you're going to be with, how you're going to feel. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic thing.
It's so true, and I love your example of the gym trainer and the client, because I'm sure that all gym trainers out there are very good at what they do. They know how to get people fit, but until they figure out what brought them to the gym, what's their driver, and getting inside their head a little bit and understanding what their core reason, other than just to get fit, they can really deliver on something much more than what they initially had. And I'm sure you're the same. You don't just do accountancy work. I'm sure that there are other things underneath that as to why they're seeking your help. And when you can understand that and you understand their why process, it helps you how to deliver that message later on to other clients. Because if they've got a problem, it means that other people in the same industry may have a similar option, and you can create content around that. You can create communication strategies around that to communicate with future potential customers as well.
Yes, we try and help our clients reach their industry business excellence. So we want to become part of their team, part of their why is what we want to do. If you see, you know, so in a way, but yeah, to help them reach their passion. So there's always an option there for how that's going to work, and just to dig deep and look for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also keeping aware of potential competition, because obviously when you have a deep understanding of your target market, you start to discover where they are online, whether it's in Facebook groups, whether it's on workshops like these, whether it's at community events, whether it's on other social media platforms. When you understand that, you can then find better communication strategies, such as what we're going to go through in workshop 3, how to communicate with them on the right platform. And that's when it becomes really powerful. It's good to have a great core message and, you know, have a strong element, but if no one knows where you are, you're basically delivering to an empty theatre. So we want to make sure that when we have all this core values in place, when we have our why in place, when we understand our market a bit more deeper, when we do deliver, and we're delivering it through the right platforms, because we don't want to make all that hard work go for nothing, essentially. So that's what we're going to be working through in sessions 2 and 3.
Lovely, perfect, thank you.
So no worries. All right, I will then sign off. Thank you, Heather.
Yep, thank you, Josh.
For joining, and look forward to seeing you on the next workshop.
Certainly, thank you so much. Thanks, Josh. Bye.